Welcome to Rick's Corner. As you know, I have a great diversification of people that I have on the show from all walks of life and all things pertaining to fitness, bodybuilding, pro wrestling, nutrition, medical, you name it, I got it. So today I have Evina Del Pizzo, who's a friend of mine. She's a trainer. She has a lot of knowledge in nutrition and training and getting in shape and what your body does and what it doesn't do. And we're going to talk about the three types: endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph, which I am none of the above.
Well, you might be a hybrid.
Yeah, I'm a hybrid. Yeah, I run on gas and electric. So, your history, when you started doing this kind of stuff, how'd you get into fitness?
So it's really kind of interesting how I got into the whole bodybuilding scene. It was really different.
Yeah.
I originally was a bikini competitor for Hawaiian Tropic.
Okay.
And I started off in Palm Springs. I competed in a small little local city show, and it just blossomed from there. And I stuck with Hawaiian Tropic for over, I want to say 10 years.
Really? That long?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time. It felt like 10 years. I mean, and all we did was really just travel with each other. We got paid to go places. We eventually were, sponsored to go to certain areas. I mean, we just had a wonderful time.
This reminds me of a group, for example, I can relate this to wrestling because in wrestling you had a group of guys that would tour. Mm-hmm. They go here and they go there, and they always travel together, do the shows and leave, and then do the shows and leave. And is that what that's like?
Yeah, and it's like you're still friends behind the scenes, but when you're competing, you're not friends.
That's wrestling.
Yeah, that's what it felt like all the time.
That's is that hard to get into?
I think at the time I didn't realize how difficult it was to get into. I feel like now it's more easier to get into because the market's so saturated. Like, you go to a bikini show, every girl in LA is there.
Yeah, I know. It's an influx of them everywhere.
Right. And you don't even have to, back then, we actually used to have to submit, via email our photos and get approved to even compete at some of the shows.
Yeah.
So now, all you have to do is just pay a fee.
That's how it is?
Back then, in Hawaiian Tropic, you didn't have to pay a fee. Right?
It's like wrestling. Like I said to someone just yesterday, when I started, I had to have a license. Yeah. I had to have a physical, a license, a background check, fingerprints, everything.
Yeah.
In order to get a license to wrestle, and you had to be booked. Nowadays, people just go in the ring and they do it.
Yeah.
I don't like that idea. I think it kind of cheapens everything.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because it opens the door to people that you don't even want to be there.
Right, and not even just people that don't want to be there. They'll be there one day and then they're gone the next.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what about the people who are trying really hard to get to where they want to go because they want to do this as their passion?
Right.
Not somebody who's going to be a fly-by-night, one-time, run-of-the-mill person and then leave. That's not going to generate any income.
All right, so how do you get income from that?
From what?
From doing what you're doing with that.
Well, with bikini competition, Hawaiian Tropic, I generated my income doing a lot of different things. Because you're a Hawaiian Tropic model, you kind of have some value, and so you're able to book photo shoots with photographers or brands. And I was also a runway model, so I had my hands in a lot of different pots when it came to modeling. And then I also had side jobs. I did work retail. When it was a slow season and I didn't want to.
You actually worked Starbucks. That's why we have this today. No, I'm kidding.
I can't pour a good cup of coffee.
No. So go ahead. Go ahead.
So that's how I generated a lot of my income was if, at one point of the season they didn't want brunettes, then I would work retail. So I was always doing something. I was always busy, but I made most of my income through modeling.
And how did you train for this?
For
example, you need to be in shape.
For Hawaiian Tropic?
Yeah.
So that's a different perspective. And it's funny because at the time I was training, I didn't really think about, different muscles or enhancing certain muscle groups. Not necessarily spot training, but like focusing on, let's learn how to squeeze the glutes when you squat, right? I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that was a thing. All I did was 40 minutes of cardio and maybe I'd work, some yoga here and there. But that's it. I didn't know about strength training in a whole. But before, when the only time I knew about weight training was when I was in weight training class in high school. And I was always familiar with weight training, but it wasn't a staple. Not until I started playing with weights towards the end of Hawaiian Tropic, and I started realizing this is kind of interesting. It's changing my body a little more. And so then when I got out of Hawaiian Tropic, because the business got sold to Playtex and Energizer, they sold the company completely and didn't want to have anything to do with any of the competitions.
Yeah.
And so then I spoke to my friend who was competing with Hawaiian Tropic with me, Her name is Kathleen Tesori. I don't know if you know her, but
No,
she's one of the bodybuilding.com models. It was interesting because I was like flipping through a Flex magazine one day because one of my roommates had it on the coffee table, and I'm like, oh, let me read the stupid thing. And I seen Kathleen. She's like center of the group of 5 girls that was there, and I'm like, wait a minute.
And you had no idea?
No idea.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she had made mention, she's like, you would be good at doing bikini because that's like a new thing in bodybuilding because you have the stature for it. I'm like, I don't know, broad shoulders. I've always had broader shoulders than the rest of my body. And she's like, you have a little more muscle than the other girls in Hawaiian Tropic. I'm like, I don't know, like I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
And when I spoke to Kathleen about it, she's like, absolutely, you should go for it. And here's a show that's coming up. And so I did. My first show was 2012 Flex Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I placed 15th out of like 60 girls. And that's okay because I learned, and I have the photos to prove it, but I wasn't wearing the clear shoes that's required for competing. I wasn't wearing like the matching bathing suit. It was completely mismatched, and I just didn't have the figure for it.
You didn't know.
No, and it's interesting how I got into it is on pure resentment. It was because at that time you could see what people were blogging about, and you could see like people were blogging like, oh yeah, this girl looks good, or that girl needs this, and really critiquing everything. And then I got to my photo, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they said. So I looked, and they said, oh, she's too skinny. She needs to eat a burger. Yeah. She's or one guy made sense to me, and that's what's caught my eye. He's like, she's an ectomorph body type. Give her time.
Yeah.
And that's all. And when he said that, I'm like, I was so pissed at all these other negative comments that when I saw that one comment, I'm like, you're damn right.
Well, this is the way it is on the internet. Everything, there's a lot of haters, and when I started the show, I got a lot of them. It's just they don't want to say anything nice. And no matter what I put up, there's always one guy that puts a thumbs down. People say, why would anybody put a thumbs down on this subject? Yeah. Because this is what the general public is like. They're just the way they are. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, I don't have that anymore. I have pretty much 99% positive comments on what I do. That's because awesome. The information is valuable, and I give it out to people, and it's free, and they should take heed and listen to it because I have a lot of experience, and it's what it's all about.
Right.
But with body types, you're absolutely right about there's people who, they used to use the term big bone, but I don't believe that big bone is the answer. I think it's your body type. Like, for example, endomorph is heavy.
Right, like a pear shape.
Yeah, like a pear shape.
Right.
Now, this is probably genetic, but it's also controlled by diet. Mm-hmm. But even if they diet hard, they still never get that shape that you want.
Yes.
It's hard. It's hard, and it's hard for people like that because they have a really hard time losing. And Ozzy, we're busy right now. If you don't mind. Yeah.
Sorry.
So go lay down. Good boy. We have Ozzy with us today as a border collie.
Cute.
He's been with me all morning. He does not want to. He wants to play. So later we'll play ball. So endomorph, and I see a lot of them in the gym, and they just have a struggle. They just can't lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds, and I see them with trainers. And the problem with a lot of the people is they don't go home and they don't know how to eat.
Yeah.
They don't know what to eat. They don't know what to cut out. I cut out my carbs since Saturday. Today's Monday. I've lost 5 pounds because basically the carbs hold water.
Yep.
And so I dropped the water weight, and I want to cut. Not that I want to cut that much, but I want to get in good shape this next few months. I have a goal, and so I'm cutting back. But I'm not an endomorph either. Mm-hmm. But I'm also not I'm not a mesomorph. I don't know what I am because my body in high school was slightly built. I'm
looking at your photos because I want to see what you were when you were younger.
Well,
because then that gives me, I would say like a meso.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't really muscular.
Right.
I weighed 145 in high school at about 5'11".
Mm-hmm. That's lean.
That's lean, but I wanted to be lean. And then when I started to gain, I got to 175 and 200, and then I never left below 200. But I'm also not an ectomorph, which I have friends that are, that they're so thin, it's very hard to gain weight.
It took me, to put it in perspective, it took me 5 years to place at my first NPC show. 5 years to place, to even just get 5th place at my first NPC show, because it just took me so long to be able to put on muscle.
Why?
I think a lot of it had to do with the lack of understanding on how to train, and so. But I did get at the time I was sponsored through a company called CNP Performance, and I had one of the guys that they were sponsoring. His name is Victor Konovalov. Mm-hmm. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't eat olives.
Oh, okay. Oh, you don't eat olives. Okay.
I'm kidding.
Victor Konovalov is an IFBB Pro wheelchair bodybuilder, and he taught me a lot of the things that I needed to know to be able to compete. Him, James Ernister, all these guys that really kind of got a hold of me, and they fed me. They spoon-fed me bodybuilding, and they spoon-fed me like how to do it from my perspective, and especially in the bikini world, and how to be competitive. And so a lot of it was like eat a ton of food because I'm an ectomorph. I burn hot all the time, and work out without any cardio. So I do a very minimal amount of cardio. I did wind sprints the other day with my trainer on Friday in the sand at the beach, but it was hard enough for me to be like, oh my gosh, like this is like burning, and I can still build muscle out of it. But everything else, the way I train is very slow tempo. My trainer will have me do like a 3-to-1 count on a lat pull down, or like on a squat, it'll be like a 2-2 press, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like so tempo training. So he'll actually have me tempo train my weight training. So I'll do like, let's say for example, if I'm doing a leg press, everything is like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, really slow tempo training.
Oh, so you're doing like negatives too?
What is it?
Negatives.
Yeah, exactly.
The negatives work. A lot of people throw the weight up and they just drop it in. And you have to do it both ways. That's how the muscle works.
Exactly. And he forces me to do it on both ends, and then midway he'll change the tempo, and then midway he'll change the tempo again. And so it's really effective, and it's really put on my size that I wanted.
Well, then along with that, you have to have the calories.
Oh, 100% of the calories. A lot of it's food, and not just like eating a burger. It's not just eating like fat foods or anything like that. It's honestly all about eating the right foods. Like I have to have a certain amount of complex carbohydrates in the morning, afternoon, nighttime, depending on my training. So if I'm working like a really heavy leg day the next day, I need a lot of complex carbs the day before because I need to sustain that energy throughout my workout.
Right.
And then it also means that I need to build that muscle. So I need a certain amount of fat. I need the protein. I need a ton of meat. Yeah. Like I eat. And people think like, oh, well, like you look like you don't. And I'm like, oh, I eat a lot.
Well, sometimes, and I've talked to somebody, the more you eat, just recently, a friend of mine, and she's eating all the time, she actually got thinner.
Yes.
From eating so much.
Yes.
And I'll tell somebody like that, like my girlfriend, she says, oh, that's impossible. I gain weight. Well, it's how you eat. You can't eat once a day, and you can't eat in the morning and again at night and not in between. You got to keep that metabolism fire burning.
Well, and it's funny that you say that people will gain weight after they start changing their eating perspective, and a lot of that has to do with the muscle to fat ratio. So people think like, for example, I do have an endomorph body type gentleman who's with me right now, and he's a little bigger, but he started to gain weight during the process, like the first 2 weeks we were training. And I said, not to worry, let's check your body fat ratio. So we checked his body fat. His body fat went down dramatically, at least by 2%. And I'm like, this is where people mistake thinking like, oh, I'm gaining weight, working out doesn't work for me, is when they see the weight on the scale go up, but the fat's going down. So his shirts fit better, everything else fits better.
You can't go by the scale. I've said this before on my show. You got to go by the mirror and the way your clothes fit.
That's right.
The scale doesn't mean anything. And I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because I weigh myself every morning just to see what I weigh. But I did that for a reason. When I had pneumonia 2 years ago and I gained a lot of water weight, it was around my heart and lungs.
Oh, wow.
And my doctor said, weigh yourself every morning. If you see an increased gain of 5 to 6, 7, 8 pounds this week, then let's check your water level because you don't want to get congestive heart failure. Right. So I make a point on the scale every morning, see where I am. Yeah, I could be 2 or 3 pounds heavier, but then I check my
your body fat?
My oxygen level through my finger on my phone. And if my oxygen's 96 to 98, then I know there's no water in there.
Oh, good.
So it monitors what I do, and my blood pressure is normal. So that's why I do it, because you can gain 5-6 pounds of water over the weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
Just by eating pastas.
Oh, for sure.
So you're not gaining fat, and then when you lose it, you're losing water. So you're not losing fat. But if you're training right and you're eating properly, the scale isn't necessary. It's the mirror and how your pants and your shirts fit.
Right.
Don't ever go to buy pants at night after dinner. I tried that once.
Never.
They don't fit. So what do you do with a person, if you have a person you're training and he's a mesomorph, genetically speaking, he's going to gain muscle quick.
Yes, and so you can pretty much do a little bit of both of high intensity interval training as well as doing maybe just some complex strength training.
Okay.
However, every client that I have, regardless of what scale of body type that they do have, I always start with the basic fundamentals. Can you stand on one foot?
Yeah.
Right? Like, can you, without locking your knee? Mm-hmm. Can you do like little basic things like stabilization, mobilization, flexibility? Those are some things that I really hit first because I really want to, like my trainer taught me, he tells me all the time, you don't just want a muscle that's just going to do one range of motion. That's it. You want a muscle that's going to have and be able to do all ranges of motion. So I guess, for example, like stretching, that's a big thing. I see that in everybody that I work with. Their mobilization and their flexibility is so limited because they're in a sedentary lifestyle like this. Everything is here. Nothing's like, we're not, like you and I are standing up, right? But a lot of the times that people that come to me are in that sedentary lifestyle and they're here. So now I have to, and they can be in great shape. And I've seen people who are in great shape, but they have that forward shoulder roll, right? And it's like, well, we got to start pulling that back and bringing that chest up.
It's funny you brought that up. I had Pete Koch on, who's on my show a lot. He's very, very big into motion and movement and body movement and making it move, because you don't want to lock yourself into one thing. Bodybuilding itself isn't going to give you that. You do have to stretch. You got to make time, and everything takes time. You know, you want to stretch, you want to tan, you want to do this. Pretty soon the whole day's gone. And then you made no money. But you have to add that. When I was working out in the ring outside there, you know, we'd run the ropes and we'd tumble, we'd do all this stuff, and my body would move in every different direction, and I'd take a bump and get off out of the ring and stand up again. Now I sit down on the floor in there. It takes me 5 minutes to get to a seat because I'm not used to moving like that anymore. And it's I think it really is important. As you get older, you don't want to lose your flexibility. It's very important to have that. So with a person that's a mesomorph, you don't really have a hard time. With a person that's an ectomorph, if you feed them properly and train them right, they will gain. And when they gain, they look better because they're not getting fat, they're getting muscular.
That's right.
So when you're dealing with the endomorph, and that person, man or woman, doesn't matter who it is, it's a job. Because I've seen women in the gym, and I know you've seen women like this, and they said to me it's a hormonal problem, but I'm not quite sure. And they train.
I think that's a cop-out.
I think it's a cop-out.
That's just, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of backlash.
I've seen women in my gym get down to where they're like hard as a rock and lean. 2 months later, they change whatever they're changing, and they've gained 40 pounds back in their butt. I mean, how does that happen? I don't see guys doing that. Okay, I want to make something really clear. Every time I go to the gym, 95% of the people that are at the gym, and especially in the weight area, what are they? They're in the weight area? They're heavy lifters.
No, they're men.
Well, yeah, they're men.
So I'd like to see more women. I think women have a tendency to just kind of flock to the cardio machines because they think like, oh, if I do cardio, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose weight. And it's like, no. And these women that have the hormonal issues, I think if, you know, you start including the resistance training into your workouts, you're going to see the change in your body type. And a lot of women feel like, oh, like, you know, I'm having an issue, I can't change my body type. I don't think that's true. I just think that a lot of people don't have what it takes to really work that hard. Well,
that's a good point. Women think they're going to lift weights, they're going to get big. I've had so many women say, oh, I don't want to get big. I said, don't worry about it. You're not going to get big. You don't get big overnight, and it doesn't have that. And if you don't take the right drugs, you're not going to get huge. If you don't lift heavy, you don't eat a lot of food, you're not going to get huge. You're just going to solid yourself up, and you're going to be firm, because muscle itself, when it's in shape, gives your body contour. It's like putting the skin over your muscle, and it's shapely, you get nice contour. If you don't have any muscle or anything, the skin goes over your body, you have no contour. You're putting skin over fat, and you can't flex fat.
That's true.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
This is what it's all about. Then those same women, like you say, go to do cardio. All right, I have a feeling about cardio, because back in the days in the 70s when we were training from these pictures, we didn't do any cardio.
No.
Waist was 30 inches tight.
Flip-flops and beach and
8-pack and no cardio, but it was all diet. The body doesn't change over the years. It's the same body we had in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It's the same human thing, and you treat it the same way, you eat the same way. Okay, there's new ways of training, but still the body responds to whatever it responds to.
I was impressed with the article that you sent me when it showed the bodybuilder's diet from like back in the 70s and 80s. I was like, yes, that's exactly what my trainer gives me. My trainer gives me calories, but like it's cottage cheese, it's vegetables, it's this, it's protein, it's all kinds of different stuff. And you just eat, and you eat to gain size, muscle, you know.
I had 3 eggs this morning and some oatmeal. I had a little piece of toast with some peanut butter, and then I had my aminos. I went to the gym, and afterwards I had my aminos and some Old School Labs, got a new protein out, which I really like. And then I went to lunch with my daughter, and I had a hamburger patty, eggs. I didn't do the cottage cheese all week. I've been laying off because it's full of sodium. But I decided, just a week without it, so I had melon instead, just some cantaloupe and watermelon. And that's it. Now I won't eat again until maybe a couple hours from now. I'll have some sort of protein. And that's the diet of the 70s. The only thing I don't do now that we did back then is around 10:30 at night, we'd all go to Zucchi's Deli and get a cheese omelet with cottage cheese and go to sleep on that. My friend Jerry Brandon would eat a pound of ground beef at night and then go to bed and sweat.
I used to hear, tell me if this is true too, I used to hear like the old school bodybuilders would eat, I think some of them do it now today too, would actually like set a timer to wake up in the middle of the night to eat food.
I won't do that.
Is it true though?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, I wake up to go to the bathroom, And that's enough for me, and I go right back to sleep.
Yeah.
I can't imagine sitting down eating a meal and trying to go back to sleep. First of all, it interrupts your sleep, and that's what you need. You know, you don't need to take a half hour to go eat something. So, no, I don't want to do that. I know people that do that now. I have one friend that came over and says, yeah, I eat at 3 in the morning. And that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Why is it necessary?
Yeah.
If you have your branched chain aminos at bedtime and your fiber, which I take every night, I'm good for the night.
Yeah.
Then I wake up hungry.
Well, and then everybody's different too, right? Everybody's body type is different.
Yeah.
Your age plays a role into this. You know, if you're younger, you're going to need
I am younger.
Oh, way younger than me.
Even when I was younger, I didn't do that. I just didn't get up to eat. I didn't see any sense in it. I'm going to be up in 7 hours anyway. I'll eat then.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you interrupt your sleep and then you go back to bed, you wake up so tired. I mean, just to get up and go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times a night when you're dropping water, you're awake for a minute, you know, and you want to make sure you don't hit the floor, you hit the bowl. So then you go back to sleep and you're out again. There's a solution to this, you guys. I bought a thing for $6 on Amazon. You put it inside your toilet. It's a night light. It changes the color of your toilet. Yes, it changes from blue to red to purple to any color you want when you stand there. It's motivated. It's acted by motion, and you can't miss the water. It's all colored.
I never have to clean another toilet bowl again.
And it's the best thing I've ever seen.
That'd be fantastic.
Anyway, those are the 3 body types. They're all over the world. You're going to see them. I mean, just after the first year in January, everybody joins the gyms. Yep. I see a lot of heavy people. And I was going to take a picture one day, but I didn't want to be rude. There were 2 women sitting in the front of my gym at a bench up front, looking on their cell phone, both leaning towards each other, and both of them had to be 250 to 300 pounds. They looked like 2 elephants sitting there, and they're just leaning and looking at the phone. I thought, don't you come to the gym to work out? This is your workout, sitting and looking at your phone.
Maybe they got done with it.
No, they never even budged. One guy came in one day and he sat down at the leg press, laid down, fell asleep. 20 minutes later, got up and looked at his watch and left.
I really encourage people to just go and work out and just be done with it and then leave. And it makes life so much easier. And
don't worry about I'm not going to keep going into this, but don't worry about your cell phone, checking your music and checking your texting and checking your calls because you're there to work out. That's it's you know, they talk about the millennials in the gym and they don't pay attention. I was just off the phone with a wrestler from Atlanta talking about that. You're there to train. It takes you 45 minutes to an hour. I'm sure you can do without your phone for an hour.
Just 1 hour. It takes nothing to just put it away. I actually wrote a whole article about that, and I'm just so tired of people taking up space in the gym, either taking a selfie, and I get it. Everybody has something to do there. But at the same time, take your selfie, put it away, and get to work. That's the only way you're going to see results.
Do it when you're done. You got all the time in the world to do this when you're done.
That's right.
So where can people reach you on the internet if they want to talk to you about training or anything else you're doing?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Evina Del Pizzo. I'm on Snapchat, Evina Luna. Or Evina Del Pizzo, whichever one.
Luna?
Luna, yeah, Luna.
Where'd that come from?
That's actually my maiden name.
You're a moon child?
I am a moon child.
So am
I. My parents were a product of the hippies. So my whole name is Evina Jewel Luna. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, where did this come from?
You remember Frank Zappa?
Yeah.
A very well-known guy. He died. He had a daughter named Moon Zappa.
Moon Zappa.
Yeah.
All right.
He had all these weird names for him. He was a real hippie. He was quite a guy, though. And so that's where they can find you on the internet?
Well, and you can also find me on Facebook, too.
Right.
So on Facebook at Evina Del Pizzo, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're training people?
I am training people. I run a company now, a little small company called Stronghouse Training.
Okay.
And just going to be launching that this year.
And they can find you down at Venice Beach and all the shows?
You can always find me at Muscle Beach. Absolutely. I'm always there at every show, hanging out and supporting my local Muscle Beach community.
Yeah. Remember, though, it's not like it was years ago. There's thousands of people down there.
Oh, God.
It's hard to find people in the crowd.
It is.
And everybody's sprayed bronze with oil. I don't want to rub up against anybody. I might get it all over
That's
me.
at any show, though.
I know.
Go to any show and
Whatever happened to lifestyle, just laying in the sun and getting tan?
Yeah. Well, then cancer set in.
I know. I got that, too. So I just embrace it and pick at it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Thank you very much for coming on and doing this.
Thanks
we'll do
for
another
having
one.
me.
And I'd like to get some videos, if you can, of some of your training methods of you in the gym, and then we'll come on and we'll run those as well.
I would love to. Thank you for having me, Rick.
I have to tell you that I said bring coffee and donuts. Well, she did, and there's a donut in there. But I forgot to tell her that I started my diet Saturday, and I'm really feeling guilty about this.
That's his fault for not.
So I'll have to take a bite, run around the block, take a bite, run around the block, take a bite, run around the block, and then put it away. Thank you guys for watching Rick's Corner, and we'll see you all next time. Stay tuned for more. I got a lot of things coming up this week, and I think you're going to enjoy it. See you next time.
Thanks.
It's RickDrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.